Okay, well, the video I made prior, I was talking about the word toxic and how people use it and associate what is toxic, based on behaviors that divide between, good and bad. So, I wanted to kind of delve in a little bit more further, between how we associate good and bad energy, based on what people do. And how can you really understand and know when a person truly is incapable of being taught more positive behaviors that can help better themselves? Because I know, in how we are as people, there's 3 different types. There's people, of course, we have this concept. Okay, the basic one was good, right? People are good, and some people are bad. Yeah. And then in between, there are people that are kind of just, straddling the fence. They kind of have, what others kind of see as a balance of the good and bad traits. But in a sense, balance doesn't necessarily mean taking on both sides, really. Because when you think about it, balance is more of like having a level head in things. Because I was talking about the energy wave of up and down, up and down. But through the ups and downs, somebody's got to maintain a level head through all of it. And so you kind of got to think of it as like a teeter-totter. Like a teeter-totter. One side is like, it got so much weight of, bad energy. There's not enough good energy to outweigh it. So what happens is we try to alleviate, take all this off. And then soon the teeter-totter, it starts rising. This side starts going up until, a lot of the good outweighs the bad. But then I also explained about, how sometimes we can get too much of a good thing to where we're not being considerate of other people's energy if it's in kind of like a negative state of being, like us talking about, the loss of a loved one, grieving, and how sometimes like people can become insensitive to others who are going through a grieving process. So it sometimes, the happy energy we have, it's not appropriate for their situation, because they have to go through, steps that it takes to heal. And usually we have to be considerate of that, and respect that. So that's when, that energy can become toxic. But you see, like, having a good level of understanding and empathy, this right here can be transferred onto this end to where it can level out. The teeter-totter, it can level out. So that gives you more grounding, that's balance there. Gives you grounding to understand this side of a person. Not the bad really, but like it's like, what is bad? What is really bad, about people? What makes a person really bad? And this is what I want to kind of get into too as well. There's 3 different types of people in the world. And I'll go over them right now. Okay, you got beings of light, beings of dark, and then you got those in between. It's the gray area. And in this, part, our soul is made up of certain types of energy. And we take on certain roles based on how much of that energy we contain. So people who carry light within themselves, they usually have a good positive energy. They have more faith in themselves and others. They're optimistic. Usually energetic. Happy. Have a lot of peace within themselves. They carry a lot of understanding. Very nurturing people. Loving. Just a lot of like positive traits, qualities, people who are more dark natured. I'm gonna get into this word because there's two meanings to dark that people tend to kind of, I guess, one is seen as evil, the other is seen as infinite darkness. Infinite. But this one we're talking about like the more negative traits. Okay. So yeah, light is the more positive. Dark is having a more of a negative outlook. More worry, doubt, expecting the worst. Sad, depressed, overindulgent, and it can be overindulgent in anything, like from, I don't know, like certain coping mechanisms like drugs, to alcohol, to certain behaviors, overthinking, on negative things. Just that type of like feeling, very moody, unstable, pessimistic, kind of like a person with dark energy. Whenever they come around, they kind of just bring the vibe of a room down. They're always stuck, in that type of mentality. People with, more of like a gray type of soul. These people, they carry both traits. They tend to be back and forth in these things. This, depending on the person, the dark side of a person, it can get even darker than this, to where it becomes very dangerous. Because some people are in tune with these dark types of feelings. It doesn't necessarily make them bad people. Darkness can go into something much deeper, which people associate with evil. Okay? And evil are people that commit murder, rape. They're brutal, unforgiving. These types of beings, they show no remorse for what they do, because evil is actually emptiness. These types of beings don't have a soul. No soul. The soul is what makes you who you are. The soul is the essence of life. So when a person is evil, commits murder and loves it, it's a person of very, very, very deep darkness. And, there's no coming back from that. There's, only, on an intuitive level, I'll say this, only a person's soul can be reinstated through the divine power. That's up to the divine power. Like certain murderers, people who commit stuff like that, when they pass on, they don't have a soul. Thus, their whole existence, their whole imprint, energy imprint on the world, on the universe, is just wiped clean. It's just not there no more. They don't feel no pain when it's wiped off or nothing. It's just gone. But, the saying is that the soul lives on, when we try to work on ourselves. So this is the thing, is that some people are very into their own dark energy, trying to figure things out. A lot of times it's not their fault for being put into this type of energy. A lot of times it can be karmic based, or things pertaining to them not wanting to learn certain lessons in life. The ego tends to keep people stuck in this type of way of being, feeling that their feelings are valid, that they can blame people for making them be this way, so this is why they are created to be this way. And then they just stay this way, still blaming everybody, but nobody can save them out of this. They have to come out of it themselves. So some people can transition into the gray area, and this is kind of like the hard part, because there's a lot of confusion, uncertainty. There's a questioning of faith and beliefs. Questioning of beliefs. It's kind of like back and forth, up and down emotions. Sometimes people who are in this gray area, what I notice is that, people who are within certain types of energy fields, these are energy fields. Just think of it as prisms from light to dark, okay? To the darkest pitch dark. These are energy prisms. So those with light in their being, they're here on earth to carry out a high vibration to heal people. A lot of these peoples are healers, creators, teachers, positive influencers. The inspirational people. The leaders. These people, they have a lot of these specific types of purposes. The gray area, these are people that can, understand the light that's given to them, but they also do work within kind of like a dark area. So people who associate more to this gray area would be more like our, I see mostly it has to do with military. People working in military. Usually that's big in this part. The warriors. They have more of this type of trait. People who are good people, but they kind of fall victim to, drug use. So, people who do drugs, drug users, alcoholics. Mostly people with like physical disabilities. People who had gone through a lot of trauma, any type of trauma. This is where you'll find people with the gray spirit, because a lot of times these are good people, but they're just stuck in hard circumstances, to learn a certain lesson of what it means to go through these types of feelings as a human being, and how to get yourself out of that, to have light and to carry a purpose of light. These people carry light. They carry the inspiration of the world. When they're able to overcome the darkness that they've been going through in their life's journey, they can teach people, they can heal people, they can be all these things, inspiration people who lead others towards this, teaching them how to become more optimistic, more positive in what they're going through. So these people tend to always go through confusion, the conflict. People of dark, they show us that that life, these things we have to learn how to understand what they can cause to a person. A lot of these people are examples of what can happen if we do not try to fix ourselves. In this gray area, we can still go back to that at any time. It's just like an alcoholic. They say once an alcoholic, you can always go back to that at any point. So you always have to be careful and be aware of who you're surrounding yourself with. What kind of environment you have yourself in. Because if not, there are triggers that can take you back. So this is kind of like the common struggle is the triggers. They experience triggers all the time. Those people, who are within this dark energy already, a lot of times it's hard to get them out. So then they just come here to serve their purpose, to teach a lesson. If they're not careful, things can get way too overboard. So sometimes it's unfortunate because that can lead to this. Or this can come around to them more and pull them in. Because these types of beings, they're aware. They know who you are, what kind of light you carry. Everybody's got an aura. So you have to be aware of certain people, entities around you that know what you are. This is why it's very hard, for people to understand, how come bad stuff always happens to me? Why is that? You could be a good person, or someone right here in this area trying so hard to reach this, but you keep getting pulled back. Why? It's because they know that you have light within yourself. This needs its own energy to thrive off of. That's why it always comes around these people and these people. A lot of times it tries to bring these people down too. But if you're strong in this energy right here, nothing can touch you. Because, see, this is the thing I learned throughout my own spiritual journey. I've been in this area. I've dealt with things in this area. I've seen things. As a person who's a clairsentient, I've heard, seen, experienced things. I also, in my own journey, I used to do a lot of drugs, alcohol. I have physical disabilities. I have trauma. I became a person with, a gray spirit once I got out of this. I had to pull myself out of it. So once I did, I started coming in contact with other people that been through this, down here, experienced the same things I had, and they're pulling themselves out too. So it's kind of like a support group. You'll notice that when you make transitions, the people around you will start to change. And sooner or later, all the people that were in this energy, they start not liking you anymore, or telling you that you're too good for them, or, putting you down. So, that's kind of the thing, is that these people, their energy's stuck here. They can't resonate to this because they don't understand it. They refuse to see it. They want you stuck in that energy. But see, that's not what I wanted for myself. I wanted to find peace. I needed to regain control of myself. Because a lot of things that were happening to me, I did not deserve. I didn't even create it for myself. People can become a victim of their circumstance, or they can take a stand and say, I do not choose to be a victim anymore. And that's based on the strength you have and the courage, faith, and willpower. The Creator gave us all a will. We have a will. And it's up to us to decide. How are we going to react to things around us? So it's kind of like the journey. You make the transition, you work your way up. till you become here, you know? And then things start to balance out, because like from then on you start understanding these pathways. You understand this, just kind of think of this whole thing as the human brain. The processes, what we think when we go through negative things and all this and that. How everything's all connected. How certain emotions, the good emotions under light energy, dark emotions, how they affect us. How do we connect to other people with that energy too? In ways that they can understand or communicate it to where they can, know how to get out of those types of behaviors. Once we know all that stuff, then we start kind of leveling out, on this playing field. We become balanced, because we are understanding things based on logic that we drew through these pathways. And I kind of been through all of it, backwards, forwards, sideways, always, to where like I can pretty much understand what people go through on the spiritual level. So yeah, like the thing about good and bad, see, this doesn't necessarily make you a bad person, especially if you're being taught things at birth or through generation. Did you know that there's such thing as people who have a negative gene within their bloodline? Some families, they just have negativity in their genes. But there are certain ways, there's certain things within your DNA that can be activated when you're trying your best to move in this type of energy. And becoming aware, you start activating certain parts of your DNA. Starts kicking in. You start remembering who you are at the core base. You start sensing more. When you rid yourself from a lot of these, negative things, you start kind of like a purification process. Because a lot of these negative feelings, they create a lot of chemical imbalances in the body on a physical level. And that kind of messes with your brain, your whole function, the way, your body performs. It also clouds the mind, your intuition. Like this, drugs and alcohol, these things can do that to you too. It can make everything seem hazy, confusing. You're not sure if the things that, you're being told are true or false. You're just kind of like a floater. But in the pit of everything, once you unravel and set yourself free from, confinement to this, the solitary life of living in this kind of a pit, you start pulling yourself out to the light. You see through light. You start seeing things more clearly. You start understanding what these things are in the dark, because you can shed light upon it now. So what they say, like, the truth will set you free. It's because the truth is light. Everything that's dark comes to light. That's just the way of the universe. That's what we call divine law, in my field of work, healing work. It's divine law. So, but this right here, this is the human nature. This is natural law. This is us learning these things naturally through our life experiences that we signed up for. And the goal is to get like this balance, understanding all of this, to where there's no judgment. There's only love and appreciation for what everybody's role is in life. See, because I've learned things from this too. I've learned ways, how this can affect people on an ultimate level. Because things like this happened in my life. I have family who is murdered. I myself have been raped. There's things, that happened, and people around me who had no remorse for what they done to myself, people within my family, outside of my family. I see things on the news or, everyday life. So this teaches us that we need to be more vigilant of our spirit, of other people we care for. We need to become more aware of how we treat others, and label each other as, oh, this person's good, this person's bad. But, like I said before in the video, that people really do love labels. People love to label things under, this and that, and what makes a person more important, and this, it's not about that. At the end of the day, it's not about that. It's about this. Are you level-headed? Are you fair with people? True, some beings, like I said, murderers, people that commit these very heinous crimes without having no guilt. They do it with a smile. Those types of beings, yes, those are the ones that, are not created of the divine. That's of its own creation. And a lot of times this is all of man's own creation. That's what I'll say. But the light, the truth, which is the source, creator, it shows you the truth that any goodness can come. If you maintain your focus, your faith, your hope, any goodness can come through any situation. It's about using your mind, using your brain, learning how to transform anything. We have abilities to transform and make the life that we want for ourselves possible. This is why we are given the free will, because we are entrusted with that ability. We have it within us, but we just do not know how to activate it sometimes. We just don't know the proper tools to really hone in and make it a reality, because we're too stuck. We're too stuck in doubts. We're too stuck in what people may think of us or feel about us. That's the truth. And that kind of sets us back. So that's pretty much the lesson I have today. It's about, 30 something minutes long. I didn't expect for it to go that long, but there's some stuff that I had to, touch on. But yeah, I hope you enjoy this video, and there will be another one. I'll be getting more into like I was talking about darkness, the two types. So next time I'll be talking about, this type of darkness and the infinite darkness. The infinite one is the one that, everybody would probably like to learn more about, because that's where we all come from. It's not something bad. It's the infinite space. And so until then, I hope you guys have a good morning. I believe it's gonna be 2:00, and look forward to bringing you some more content soon. Peace.